Now comes the part where we throw our heads back and laugh. Ready?
Ready!
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Let's get dangerous.
And here we are once again. It is Thursday, and we're here.
Yay!
Yeah. Oh, we got people already lined up in the stands watching us. Lissy is already here saying hi to everybody.
Hi,
And it's
Missy.
like, I can't type. And
Donna.
there's Donna.
Hey,
and
Carl.
Coral.
I am not going there if she's not in the room.
It's like everybody say hello to one another, which we do, and don't forget to like and share, folks. Yes,
Thank you, Donna.
we do need to get our subscription totals back up here.
Yep.
We do need to get back over 100 before we can get our custom URL again or back. As far as getting the old stuff back, it's not going to happen. I found out through IIT that they wasn't going to reinstate it long enough for me to get the old stuff transferred over. So I still will be getting some of my emails from the old email address, but the other footage and stuff I got try to rip off of Facebook. So I haven't lost everything. It's just more along the lines of like it's going to take a while to have everything re-archived and whatnot.
White Manga got hacked.
Ooh.
And I think he's lost most of his stuff. He got hacked. He got locked out of his channel. And the people who hacked him were putting up stuff that wasn't his and taking his stuff off. So it was pretty ugly. It took some work for him to finally convince YouTube that he was who he was and they needed to let him back in his channel. And he's still having a few issues. And he had put a video and was talking about it. And he said usually he can catch these things, but the guys who hacked him were really smart. They, I guess, had gotten into some sort of chat he had been doing, and he was talking with the group preliminarily about them working with him. They had, come on and kind of made him an offer. And these guys kind of went, ooh, if we make it sound like we're from that group, by the time he gets it, it'll be too late. And that's what happened. By the time he realized, oh, this is not who I thought I was talking to, it was already too late. He clicked that link in.
So, Lissy, what do you think of that?
He willingly gave him that information, and after that, it was all she wrote. Yes, Lissy, we per if I could say, Senator Clipertine, we have to go a little bit more professional with the opening.
I just said I was going to sit down and make an opening because we needed one, and Joe took my threat seriously because he knows the kind of stuff that I do. So he made a good one for us. So my ploy worked just perfectly.
Yes, he told me, it's like, don't make me eat sugar. You don't like me when I eat sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah, my heart can only take so much of that.
So everybody say, well, yeah, I'm on camera now.
Yes, we have. Let's see. We missed you.
Yes. And see, summer reading program, then back to school took all my attention.
Ah,
Oh, they okay. Did they have their pizza party at the end, or do they do the amusement park now? But you're a free woman now,
Hmm. Mhm.
as free as I can be with kids.
oh, so no chance of being a free man in Paris.
Mhm.
Nope, it looks good. Yep,
Oh, thank you.
I do the same, Clyde. I make people new intros, and it scares them. Although some of them just use them, like BKM. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that one fits. That one fits for no warning. That one just fits very well
Mhm. It
because
does.
it tells a nice story.
I just don't have the kind of program to. I can do a simple one, and it can be okay, but nothing to match what you did. So I'm just thankful because I
Well,
didn't have to go drag my old laptop out to use a program to get the program off of it to use to do it. Because all the modern ones, I don't. They they do not work well on my computer. So
you forced me to update my video editing skills. That's what you did, and I don't blame you for it. Our library does a drawing for prizes. None of us won,
oh,
but it was fun. Okay,
yeah, good on
Lizzie,
you.
what books did you read?
Yeah, what were your choices?
I got about a dozen book read. Okay,
I am so scared of you.
Wow, wow.
If I
that,
get
that
one book done in 3 months, I'm lucky.
I just finished a 400-page Star Trek novel written by somebody that I know, and it was a good story and all. But that's the longer book. That usually it's a couple hundred pages, maybe 300 pages. A lot of technical terms because Star Trek, and
mhm.
it took me a
Techno
while.
babble, baby.
Exactly, and it was really good. It was a wonderful story, but it was just a little shy of 400 pages, and that was a long one for the summer. Also, summer busy. I had a lot of stuff going on, so I didn't have as much time to sit and read. Also, my comics every week have been like going through the roof as far as numbers. So, it's
Mhm.
like a lot of reading.
And for before I forget, let's all give a round of applause to Mr. Hall. Happy anniversary.
Thank you, thank you, thank you,
Yay!
thank you, thank you. I'll show you. I'll show you what the missus got. I was impressed. So we do Ma and Pa Kent
Oh,
cosplay, and she found a
Lego,
company that does these custom. I mean,
giant Lego.
that's actually that is actually the shirt pattern and the dress pattern
Oh,
that's
from our
wow.
cool.
costumes. Yeah, it's really customized. So she's got she had those made for us.
Cool.
Yeah,
She be liking Mr. Clyde big time.
I know. And after 40 years, no accounting for taste, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
I noticed that the poster changed on the door from time to time.
Yeah, the Green Hornet it was a loose poster, and the with this when the summer heat started coming in, the poster hanging material started to you know get.
oh,
It's not
yeah.
really that warm in here, but it doesn't take very much for it to want to loosen. And also, I just wanted to curl up. The paper was wanting to curl up, so I'm like, I got to get that backed with something. So in the meantime, I found my um, I've got Superman and Batman and some of the uh, covers that they were selling at different places, different craft stores and stuff like that.
Mm.
And now you find them in secondhand shops. So I grabbed up a handful of them and when it was close to the 4th of July, I put up Captain America with a Kirby
Mhm.
cover.
I saw that. That's the reason why I noticed it because up here saw the Superman. It's like,
Mhm.
wasn't that Captain America at least 2 or 3 weeks ago?
Neil Adams,
Yeah,
Superman, my favorite Superman
that's
artist.
issue
So
200 or something like that, if I'm correct.
that's the where they did away in like 1970, where the new phase for the Man of Steel, where he became an on-air reporter instead of a newspaper man, and kryptonite was all turned to iron, so he had no weaknesses anymore for a
They
while.
they have this khaki blue stuff that you can use that goes in the back of posters and stuff you want
Right.
to put up. Only
Mhm.
thing about it is it'll hold your stuff to the wall, but you can pull your posters off, but this blue stuff might stick to your walls
Yeah,
and stain
I've
them.
had that, and or leave a big oily stain and stuff. And I'm just gonna frame and back the Green Hornet poster and put it up there at some point, but I haven't gotten around to doing that yet. And these are wooden. They're like a wooden.
Huh.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
they're real tough, and they're flat. So I'll just switch them around for a bit. And there's also some really good Marvel. There's some Spider-Man, and there's some different ones I don't have. Oh, Fantastic Four. There's a great
Ooh.
Fantastic Four one. Yeah, so I'm like, find those used for $5 a piece someplace, and they'll go up there too.
So yeah, Carl was impressed by what Lizzie said, and those are awesome, Clyde.
Thank
Talking about
you.
the figures.
My wife has great taste. She always comes through with just the best kind of stuff for special occasions. So I am very blessed.
What you drawing, Eric?
Sketching out aliens.
Ooh,
That's what we're drawing tonight is Alien Romulus. I haven't drawn an alien in a couple of years, so
Ooh.
gonna have to break out the reference.
Have you seen the
people
movie?
say good things about Romulus.
I've heard a lot of mixed stuff. A lot of starts out really, really, really good, then just kind of goes downhill.
Oh,
I haven't seen it yet myself. Apparently, there's a lot of just rehashing the first Alien movie, the scenes
Yeah.
and stuff. So, but I don't know.
I heard it was-
I like most of them except for 3 wasn't good. I think 4 was worse than 3.
4 was
Three,
definitely
three was weird because of Newt. Because of Newt, 3 was weird.
Yeah, it was just There's but I think most of the other ones I've kind of liked, but 1 and 2. I mean, those are the 2 best ones. So.
yeah.
2 still makes me mad. 2 still makes me angry. It's a good movie, but it still makes me angry.
I've just watched the Media Knights do the playthrough of what is it, the Alien Isolation game.
Mm.
That was good. If they made a movie, it wouldn't be bad because what it is in the game you play Ripley's daughter,
Oh.
who is now working on a ship similar to the Nostromo. Because she's trying to, it is 24 years after the Nostromo was destroyed. So they don't know what's happened to Ripley.
Mm.
And Wayland Yutani won't tell her anything other than we don't know where your mother is.
Hmm.
So she joins Wayland Yutani in the hopes that if she's going out there, she might find her mother. And you play her, and they end up on this. I forget what type of ship it is, but they end up on a ship very, very much like the Nostromo. And unfortunately, someone a crewman had came aboard who had somehow got exposed.
Mm.
To our little xenomorph, and it bust out of him on this station where they were not prepared for it. And I love the way they played it because they played it very well. But in this game, it's not just the xenomorph you have to worry about. By the time she enters the scene on this ship, a lot of stuff has gone down. There have been some revolts on the ship, And it's not just a xenomorph. You have to be afraid of other humans because people have been killed. Those who are remaining have formed little cliques or are living or trying to hide out independently to keep themselves safe. You can't trust anybody. And the droids that are created by this company called Seegson have all turned on the humans. And you find out that
They all had what was it? They all had what the pre-Bishop complex.
no, these are much more basic droids. So they're not like Bishop. These are much more basic droids.
But they had the ASH programming intact, it sounds like.
But see, and you get, as you go through, you get to get recordings that tell you the story of what's been going on and how individual, how this guy was brought on board. He got sick. This thing happened. They weren't prepared for it. And then, but it turned out that I guess they had gotten, Wayland Yutani had already gotten Ripley's message that she sent. And I guess somebody had already gotten the information. Something in an Nostromo still survived, so they were able to get some of that information. And this droid company wants this thing. So they turned their droids against the human all the humans in order to save the xenomorph. So you not only got to try to avoid, and there are several xenomorphs. At first you think there's only one, and then you find out there are several xenomorphs on this place. So you have several xenomorphs, and people have spray painted things like "Don't trust anybody." The working Joes, which are what the droids are all called. They're called working Joes because they're the droids that are supposed to do the dirtier jobs aboard this installation. And then they go buggy. And at first, when she gets there, they seem okay, but then they start saying weird things, and then they start attacking. And the attacks by the xenomorph are cool because one minute you're fighting off a human or you're fighting off a droid, and you think, okay, I've gotten away from him. Let me turn around and. But luckily, this couple, because he was playing and the wife was sitting next to him, and she's kind of helping to guide him. Between the two of them, they very quickly started realizing, oh, there are hints. When the xenomorph is in a vent above you, you can see it drooling. Drool. So they're looking out, and then they learn, okay, even if you don't see the drool, a xenomorph could be up there. So he immediately goes, oh, okay, so we have to avoid all, if there's an overhead vent and it's open, walk around, don't walk under it, walk around in the hopes, and do it quietly in the hopes that this thing won't catch you. But there are a couple of things where they got killed on a level, came back and thought, okay, we know how this is going to go. We're all for it. And the game was like, yeah, okay, you think that. Go ahead. Do what you're going to do. Oh, I'm sorry. We put the xenomorph behind you. You thought it was going to come at you this way. It caught you from behind. So there are a couple of times where the game would just like switch things up. And I'm like, dang, this game is psychotic. It wants to kill you.
Yes, when extendable jaws are a part of the aliens' repertoire, toilets are not a safe place, really.
I think the best chest burster scene out of all the movies is in Spaceballs.
Oh,
Get this guy some Pepto-Bismol.
or better yet, oh no, not again. The minute he says that, I just lost it. I just said, and then of course he goes into the hi, I'm the Warner Brothers fraud. And everybody else in the theater lost it. But yeah, it's got to be one of the best chest burster scenes out there. It's because it at least will leave you giggling.
Yeah.
You know,
It's like, what's wrong with this guy? He had the special.
whatever the special is, I don't want it.
No, after they saw everything, it's like, check, please. If I remember that scene correctly, both Borf and I forgot the Luke Skywalker character's name or wherever he's supposed to be, they all went, check, please. It's like, we're not eating here.
What is his name?
Bill Pullman, the actor, I think, played that part. The
Yeah,
guy
he did.
later went on to play the president in the first Independence Day movie, played the Luke Skywalker character. You know, my other favorite line from that movie is, you know, when what's her name, she gets, you know, the baddies are coming at him and she just pulls out the gun and the guy's like, yeah, that was good. And the female droid's like, that was good for Rambo. But then I thought, you know, that's one of the hallmarks of Carl Reiner's humor.
Yep.
You know, he puts it out there in such a way where you don't get the message of the joke. You get the joke, and then a little later, it's like, oh, yeah, that's. Ooh. It's always
Lone Star.
Lone Star, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's always it's interesting watching the younger brothers, the younger blurs as they call themselves nowadays, when they decide to watch Blazing Saddles.
Oh my goodness.
You know,
Younger people watching that, I just feel like a lot of jokes just go way over their head. They don't understand why this stuff is funny.
no, well, Sintel Reacts and the guy he had watching with them, they got it. The brothers in Struggle Nation, they're much younger. They're like early 30s, and they got it. They got things, you know, including the hard R's. They were like, man, that Mars are hard. But they were talking about, oh man, you couldn't make that, you know, and they realized you couldn't make that movie nowadays.
Nope.
And it's like, he just barely got that movie made then, and only because he did it so on the cheap. And the studio were like, well, you know, he's Carl Reiner. We'll throw him a bone and let him make his little movie. It
You
won't
mean
do
Mel
well.
Brooks?
Hmm?
Do you mean Mel Brooks?
Mel Brooks. I'm sorry, I don't know why I keep saying Carl.
I thought he might have written some of it or something, but then I was like, no, I think it's Mel Brooks.
No, that's definitely a Mel Brooks movie.
Bring, you know, Spaceballs. Also, Mel Brooks.
Yep.
And he's the.
I'm
he's
not
the
going to
galactic
bring up
leader.
the trifecta because you have Blazing Saddles, you have Spaceballs, and then you have Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Oh yes.
Oh. History of the World's a lot better than half those.
History of the World Part 1 is really good. I have not seen Part 2 yet.
It's not good.
But what about High Anxiety?
High Anxiety was good too.
Young Frankenstein.
Young
Yes,
Frankenstein
that
is
was
excellent. Yeah.
Oh my
But I still
goodness.
don't put that as the same categories as the other ones, though. It was good. I give my props to Gene Wilder. I like my Gene Wilder, but it's not in the same category.
I think he and Madeline Kahn made Young Frankenstein. Oh,
Mhm.
not the hair, Dilly. Not the hair. Oh. You see, Lonely seeing the monster read the paper going, oh my God. I know the monster got part of your beautiful mind, but what did you get? It's like, oh my goodness.
Mystery of life at last I found you.
I was not going to go there, but thank you.
That
Frau
was one of the,
Blucher.
we saw the musical.
I agree.
It was
Carl.
really good.
Yeah, he was a real genius.
I'm sorry, Eric. What?
We saw the musical too, and it was really good.
Oh, cool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was
Let's see
was
that.
probably one of the best musicals I've seen. I mean, after Phantom of the Menace and stuff, or Phantom of the Menace. Ooh, now Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah.
The worst.
Phantom of the Menace. I love that. We need to make that movie. We should all
Yeah.
write that script.
The worst musicals I've seen. Jennifer saw one of them with me. First one was Moving Out, which was the Billy Joel inspired one. It was horrendous. And I love Billy Joel and everything he does. But the other one, surprisingly, was back was that music show on Fox where they had the winners of the singers?
Glee?
No,
No,
the contestants.
American Idol.
American Idol. One of them, the gray-haired young guy, got on Broadway and was doing Grease.
He's the one that won early on.
Yeah, it's one of the early.
It's somewhere between 1 and 4.
Horrible. Horrible. The whole show was horrible. I was like, oh my God, how do you mess up Grease?
Where were they showing that?
Grease is really easy. You shouldn't be able to mess it up.
No, you shouldn't be able to. What was that, Clay?
Where was it at?
It was at the Fox Theater here in St. Louis.
The Fox had something bad?
Yeah. Well, they had Moving Out too, and it was bad.
Have you seen Pink Ladies?
No.
Oh, Pink Ladies was fun.
Oh, okay.
I actually enjoyed Pink Ladies. It was really interesting because what they did was they leaned a little more heavily into what was going on in the 50s. Because the girls who make up the Pink Ladies, one is a budding feminist who's running for, after she's treated badly by a guy, decides to run against him for student body president. There's a young Puerto Rican girl who everybody keeps saying, oh, you're Italian. And she's like, okay. There's a black nerd. And there is a female who it turns out is the female mechanic character, is like her younger self to some degree. But it's because this is the Pink Ladies before. This is how the Pink Ladies and the Jets all get started. And
so Lissy's saying, I'm so mad that they canceled the Rise of the Pink Ladies. Yeah.
It was so much fun. I had so much fun. But I think because there is that group of fanboys who are, that's not my Grease. Because they did tackle things like not just feminism, but there are two girls that find themselves attracted to each other and they're trying to figure out how to deal with that. And while they don't say it directly, you easily get, because of the context, what's going on. And so there's a lot of things that they were doing that way. And I think people, the same guys who, there will not be another season of The Acolyte because the fanboys have
no, it wasn't the fanboys. The show was horrible.
The
writing was horrible. No one cared about the other stuff. It was the writing was so bad that everybody disliked it.
I like the fight scenes, and
the
I like
fight
the
scenes
wire
were
work.
excellent, except for the one segment, and it was the last episode where they kind of floated down slowly, like they're in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. That was. I mean, everything was great. Then all of a sudden they slowed down just for 3/10 of a second. But no, the fight scenes were great.
And some of the stuff, like if we can have a Western that has a Mandalorian, Western Star Wars, like with the Mandalorian, I felt like they had a real opportunity to do an interesting Kurosawa kind of Star Wars with very Eastern philosophy and stuff. We got some of that, but I would like to have seen it continue to see if it could get improved. But
well, I gave you an idea, but I don't think.
Well, if you're gonna have a mystery,
ever come to light here.
If you're gonna have a murder mystery, make it a murder mystery, not so everybody can figure out within the first 10 minutes of what's going on.
Right. Yeah, that's very true. But there were different layers, different things of the past. It was kind of some of the way that it was presented. It reminded me of the Boba Fett series of how that was
Boba Fett. Yeah.
It kind of didn't flow like it should. Like if I had been reading it as a story, I think it would have been like, why are we going in this direction? Okay, we're explaining what I was asking questions
Maybe,
about episodes ago. So
yeah, that to me was like, okay, you could have brought that explanation a little sooner and then worked on how they were covering it up.
Mhm.
You know, I though did like the idea of the fact that because mistakes were made
Mhm.
and people didn't own up to the mistakes they made and let the chips fall where they may, you ended up with all this misery. Especially when, you know, we find out the whole thing of this dude gets skull bugged by the
It's
witch.
all his fault because he just wanted to go back to Coruscant to eat. I'm like, this has caused all this because you were hungry?
He's like Chewbacca, always thinking with his stomach. You know,
Yes.
that's just-
But the fact that, you know, to me, the fact of it's like, okay, mistakes were made all around. People should have spoken up and they didn't. And on one hand, I get, yeah, he's trying to protect the kid, but considering how that turned out, you know, was it
Yeah.
worth it?
Yeah.
And my answer was no, this because my youngest was watching this with me. And this gave us a chance to sit and talk about making the right decisions. And sometimes, you know, explain to them, sometimes you have to make a hard decision, even when you know it may not turn out right, because this, in the end, it makes the Jedi look bad. And then somebody else has to tell an even bigger lie to cover up
That's how lies go. Yeah.
for the lie that's been told, you know, because it's like, well, geez, he's dead now. Spoiler, sorry. He's dead now. And,
Everybody's
you
dead
know,
in the whole show. It's like watching Rogue One again. Well, won't see these guys ever again.
hey, come on, you be
Don't
nice to
diss
them,
Rogue
Bob.
One. I actually enjoyed Rogue One.
Yes,
It's one of my
you be
favorite
nice
I
Star
like
to
Rogue
Wars
One,
movies.
but I mean, you knew everybody was going to die.
Mm-hmm.
It's like watching the Titanic. You know no one's going to make it out.
Yes, but the romance.
Except Rose. There's no room on here
I
for
do
you,
not
Jack.
want to sit through another 15 minutes of Jack, wake up! Jack, wake up! Jack, you're here, wake up! You could have shared the stupid door with him.
I was about to say it wasn't like she weighed that much. No, it's like she could have got on the damn door. They could have made it. You know, and now she's trying to stay model thin because every time she goes in for a role, it's like, well, we can't have you Titanic fat. And it's like, but she wasn't fat.
Titanic fat. However, like, it's like, really?
That sounds
That
pretty
door
fat.
was that thin? They were saying that door was that thin that they had her on. That prop was that thin.
I'm
That
looking
made
at it
think that she
going,
was
and
fat.
and DiCaprio is so slim. He could have been on there with her. It wasn't going to sink so long as they didn't shift around. They'd have been okay. But it's like, okay, y'all just
Again, I have my if I don't want to apply physics. I really don't want to apply physics because if she was, pretty much on the door, and if he was hanging on to one edge, he's literally pushing down on the door one edge.
he should have
Which
flipped
means
it and then
that
it both went in.
she's tilting toward him, so she would eventually slid off unless she kind of balanced everything out and stayed back. So she couldn't just be like laying down there the way that she was with him on the door if the door was not sturdy and heavy enough, because he would have been pushing down on the door, forcing it in the water to bring it just the buoyancy wouldn't be there the way that
You know, if they'd have widened out that shot, you'd have seen somebody in the background holding the other side of the other end of that door to keep it from flipping over. Because I'm like, okay, how many times when they were blocking this out for the camera, trying to shoot this scene, where she or her stand-in on that door and the guy standing in for DiCaprio is like, and all of a sudden, you know, they're just sort of, okay, let's get that shot, and then all of a sudden, whoop. And they're like, okay, we'll just have somebody on the other end of the door. because, like it or
Well,
not, physics is real.
if Hollywood stays centered on what they've been doing lately, we can all see the multiverse version of this in Titanic 2. How the parallel universe one turned out. So, you know,
Victorian Boogaloo.
I think
Yeah.
there is a Titanic too.
okay.
There was a movie called Titanic 2.
Return to the
Yeah.
Titanic or
Yeah.
something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Then Titanic 3. So.
that was played out in the news where those idiots went down there in a ship that they were told was not supposed to be at that depth. But you know, being a bunch of rich folks figured, oh, this will never happen to us, and took her to that depth, and the ship went crunch. And it's like, well, you know, this is where the black folks just sit there and look and go, all right. You go ahead, baby. We'll light a candle for you at church. I want to see your xenomorph, Eric.
Oh, it was just sketches. I delete them real quick.
Oh,
I do a real quick sketch and I delete. That's a real quick sketch.
I like the one you had that said, "This is some bullshit." Oh wait, no, that's the wrong kind of alien.
Man, well, that whole situation is bullshit. I know it's got renewed for a 4th season on
They moved it. Isn't
USA.
Maybe.
I didn't even know USA was still a cable station.
Yes, it's still a cable station,
But
but
they moved it.
it's not as big.
yeah.
Yeah, and it was like one of the top-rated shows for sci-fi. I don't know why they wouldn't continue with it, but I don't know.
Yeah, they got to save that money, that hard-earned money, for more Sharknado movies. So
They haven't done those in a while. Yeah,
that's they're saving up. See, that's what I mean.
Again, that's a star-studded movie. They got more stars to that movie than most pictures that came out this year.
I don't know. I would say Deadpool had a lot of stars in it.
It did. You're right. It did.
I still like watching Ryan and what's his name having to eat hot wings.
Oh, I watched that. Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
The tears in his eyes. It's like, oh my goodness, he's actually in.
They made it through, but boy, I started to wonder if they both were gonna.
When he said
I gotta tell
the
you,
ice cream had chili peppers in it, I just lost it. It's like when you can't tell the flavor of vanilla ice cream anymore, that's your body signaling you that maybe you've gone farther than you need.
yeah. But watching that got me prepped for the movie, because I'm thinking, if this is this good and they're this funny together just naturally, you know, this is going to be an awesome movie. And I got to tell you, one thing that we take away from Deadpool and Wolverine is we have seriously considered how we could make a dog pool outfit for our dog to take cosplay with variant dog pool variant on the back, since he's rather an attractive dog, right?
I think they already started selling outfits like the week the movie came out. I saw. Yeah.
And
With
Ginny
the little
looked 'em up.
booties and everything.
Yeah, but
No.
but they're really expensive.
Yeah.
And our dog hates that kind of stuff. I mean, he just loathes, even in the cold weather.
You gonna be
It's
able
hard
to
to
make
get
the
him
goggles
something.
too?
Yeah. Yeah, this would be great. It'd be a great cosplay.
Before you spend money, real money, go to
Mhm.
Dollar Tree and Dollar General, because they have a pet section,
Right.
and
right.
they have pet costumes this time of
Mhm.
year. So they may have a cheap version of it that you can then take and, you know, finagle for a little less than if you went and spent like the $60.
Went all out. Yeah.
Yeah, if you went to like Party City or whatnot.
Mm.
But what Ginny said, it made me think that, you know, we would be spending more on his cosplay than we spend on some of ours. So that ain't gonna happen. So
I liked Dogpool's one of my favorite characters.
yeah.
I mean, it had no lines in the movie, but ugly as can be, that dog is.
But he doesn't need lines. He's just a little puppers. He's a cute little puppers licking.
I love the way I love the way that the two different main characters got through a hail of gunfire two very different ways.
Yeah.
One of them involving dog pool. You'll have to go see the movie. I'm not going to spoil it. You have to go see the movie, but
Okay.
it's very interesting to see how different people reacted to different strategies, as it were.
I will have to wait till I can either rent it on Vudu or get it on Amazon or whatever, because there's a movie coming out. I can't remember which one that my youngest has already seen the trailer for. And it's coming out as a holiday movie, and he wants to see it. And I am hoping I can save enough pennies to take him to that and also go see War of the Rohirrim, because I just saw Nerd of the Rings just did a breakdown of the teaser trailer they just put out, and it's like, oh, and they start the teaser trailer with live action. So you see Eowyn coming out, and she's like giving a breakdown of this is who we are now, but this is the history of who we are. So she gives you that lead in, and then they go in to the anime part, and it looks, from what the little I've seen, it looks good. It does look good, you know. And I so want to. I would like to see it good, bad, or indifferent, just so I can say I've seen it.
Right. We were also over the weekend. We did cosplay, 2 days of cosplay, for a balloon fest here. And one day we did Star Wars, one day we did superheroes, and the superhero cosplayers were talking about, well, one of them is Captain Carter, so got her already. One of the others is doing a multiverse version of Magneto that is gender switched. So, and she just showing us pictures of the outfit. It looks awesome. And I'm like, I'm going to have to invest in a TVA authority uniform with a stick to go around pruning people.
Don't take it near a Deadpool. He's going to think you want to peg him. There was a Captain Carter shield at the Ollie's near me 2 weeks ago.
Oh, that's cool.
The full size shield.
Full size shield. Wow.
It was still $65. I was like, that'd be cool, but
I
would put it right there.
I love her. She was my favorite thing out of the What If series, and I keep hoping, I keep screaming out to Bridget, my patron goddess, like, you got to talk to them, make them do another, season, because I loved What If. I love the What If books.
Oh, they're doing another season. I don't know when it'll come out, but
because I love the books, and I have enjoyed the season. I have enjoyed the seasons that they've done, and I would love to see, because Samhain ain't that far away. It would be nice for them to suddenly surprise us and go, "Oh, we did another Werewolf by Night."
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
A girl can hope.
Let's see. So 2 years ago was in black and white. Last Halloween was in color. Will it be, I don't know, chrome this year?
3-dimensional. Virtual reality Werewolf by Night.
We have Agatha this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're doing the Agatha series this year.
Oh, is that what we're getting for Halloween this year?
It should be through the Halloween season, I think.
Yeah. So that's coming out.
Because it starts next month, yeah.
Okay.
Ironheart is completed and in the can, but they don't know when they're ever going to release that series. There's another one that's completely filmed. I can't remember what it is, though. That they just it's not on a schedule to come out.
Dang. It really hurts my heart for the actors and actresses. You spent all this time busting your hump to be in this movie, get it made, and then we don't know when it's going to come out. And it's like, but I did all this work, and and I'm sure they were sitting there going, but I did all that work, and I want to have those Tom Holland type.
Well, and they could be like the actors that were in Madam Web. They thought they were in a Marvel movie. They didn't know enough about the show to know what kind of movie they were being cast. Well, it was a Marvel movie, but not Marvel
really a
Studios.
Not Marvel Studios movie. It was Marvel adjacent.
Yeah,
I
like
think from
like
now
what's
on,
this coming
we
out?
need to
Craven's
start
going to be.
requiring. We need to start requiring these actors to at least read the material before,
Mm.
before they go and do the test shots and everything, before they go audition. It's like, have an idea of the character you're trying to play. Get some books. Have this, if the studio wants you, it's like, can I read some of those books first so I kind of have an understanding of who this person is and have an understanding of who they would be to the fans, but to have people who haven't even read the comics, it's like one of the reasons, and I will say it till I die, one of the reasons that helped make the Lord of the Rings what it was, and even Keaton's Batman Bruce Wayne, is they knew the material. And if they didn't know it going in, they sure as hell caught up with it. So they had an understanding of what they were supposed to be doing,
But that makes it one major assumption that the writers wrote it similar to the source material.
But I'm
And
saying
that's part of the problem with Madam Web. It's not akin to the source material.
And if the women had actually read the source material and then read the script and said, hey, you know what? The books did X, Y, and Z. Why are we not following that through line? We might have gotten something a little better. Do you see what I'm saying? We might have gotten.
It's like Kathleen Kennedy saying, well, we just don't have any, stories to convert to movies. We have to make our own. Like there isn't, tons of stuff. Wonder Man is the other series that is complete, but it has no release date.
Ah, okay.
Dang.
Yeah.
Let's see, that is an impressive list. Now, and I don't even know the trade paperbacks you got there. I've not ever heard of, I don't think.
Yeah.
So of all the things that you read, what would be if I wanted to pick one off the list, what one do you think would be the best read? What one should I go for first?
Well, that question was to Lissy, by the way, for people who are watching. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Carl was saying directors don't like the actors bringing in stuff that isn't in the script. They don't like the arguments. But that's the key thing. The directors and the performers are not always in that writing room. And that's a problem. If the writers don't care about the source material, why should the director? And if the directors don't care about the source material, they assume that the actors are not going to either, unless they are a fan of the material, unless they know about it. Because again, they're supposed to be the representative of the character that is made famous.
Mm-hmm.
I will continue to go back to Lord of the Rings because, Elijah Wood read those books before he even auditioned and then made his own audition because Peter Jackson had let it known they didn't want to use a bunch of American actors. And he then, with his sister's help, went out in his backyard and made his own outfit and everything, and they filmed it, and he called everybody he knew to get favors to send this and get this on Peter Jackson's desk because it was like, I am not letting this go because I love these books. What was it? Sean Astin, because his stepdad had done The Frighteners. That was his end. But even he,
stepdad. So what?
John Astin is Sean Astin's stepdad. He's not his biological father.
Mm-hmm. Oh, see, I didn't even know that. I didn't know that.
Yep. Sean finally a few years ago got to meet his biological father, and his attitude is, "See this man over here? I have his surname. That's my dad." But because John Astin had did the Frighteners. When Sean Astin got word that this was happening and Peter Jackson was like, I'm not seeing any American actors, he then went to John Astin and said, dude. You know? And John Ashman was like, yeah, I'll make a phone call. You know, I'll help you get in the door. Liv Tyler, I think, because she's kind of rock royalty and whatnot, and I think Jackson was a fan of Aerosmith, that kind of helped. You know, she got legacy, but even she had to like, okay, I need to prove that I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so and they didn't want to see a bunch of American actors because they knew they were going to use non-American accents, and they were afraid that the American actors would not be able to do them.
Ooh.
And he also kind of had that fear that American actors might not be up on the source material. And then, of course, he got, you know, Sir Ian McKellen, who was whipping out his book, especially during The Hobbit, going, that line, there's a better line in the book. He was doing that to them. And, you know, and luckily Jackson is the sort where, you know, it's like, okay, I can argue or we can get the work done. You know, Jackson's like, I got 5 other directors shooting this puppy as well as myself. Let's get the work done. And if he's reading that line and saying, hey, this works better, you know, he's Sir Ian McKellen. He now owns that character. We'll do that. You know, same thing with Sir Christopher Lee. Sir Christopher Lee, like myself, has read, I haven't read it as often because I'm not as old and I started reading later on, but he used to read the Silmarillion every couple of years. So he was a serious Tolkien authority. So when they asked him, he'd read all the books and everything. He knew the lore like the back of his hand. And there were times where, you know, they would have those discussions sitting in rehearsals and stuff. And he would say, yeah, but, you know, but because they were all trying to make that movie the best they could, they were all on the same page of the source material. If we find, and often they've talked about when we found ourselves, because there are things you can write a script, but then when you're actually shooting it, sometimes you realize that, oh, that line doesn't work. Oh, this action bit doesn't work. And it's like, okay, let's go back to the source material. What's in the book?
Okay,
you know,
so
I think the only person
we have to say goodbye to Donna because she's about to get ready to go to Last Man Standing because we're about to go into our second hour.
Too.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then Carl about to get ready to go for the same reason.
Lucy, thank you for the recommendations. And yeah, that book sounds awesome. And yeah, she said she read this one in like 1.5 nights, would have read it in one, but she went to sleep. That's the kind of recommendation I love because it's get me inspired to read.
I don't know about comics that's like 1.5 days because I normally read comics within hours.
No, that's the novel she's talking about.
She's talking about the Devil and Mrs. Davenport. Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, that one sounds interesting. That caught my attention.
Yeah.
You know, 1950s and
It's
dealing with psychic abilities, and then what was the hook was like the evangelical husband. It's like you are dealing with witchcraft. That's not Christian like. It's like, whoa, hold on. Flag on the play. But again, 1950s, I can see that happening.
What about the biblical prophets?
Mm-hmm.
Don't confuse me with facts.
All right, folks, I gotta go. We'll see you next week.
What is the topic tonight, Eric?
Alien Romulus.
Yeah,
Alien Romulus. Okay.
Will you bring your finished pick next week so I can see it? Because you know I love my xenomorphs.
Yeah, I draw them all digital, so it's pretty easy to share.
we have to talk to Brian about bringing you on to the bigger chat. Bigger chat later on.
Oh yeah, we have a whole chat where we're always in there. I share the pictures every night when I finish them.
Cool.
And next week we're doing Berserk.
Is
The anime.
Okay, I was supposed to say
okay.
the anime or the anime, the book the anime is based on, or the Keanu Reeves book.
Not the Keanu Reeves book.
The anime. The anime.
I'm asking. I have seen the anime, loved it.
But then we get to do Beetlejuice on September 5th. That's gonna be a fun one.
Oh yeah.
Are you doing the animated series or the live action film?
Live action, because I think that's the week it comes out as well.
Mm-hmm.
I love the animated series. Used to watch it with my kids all the time.
Yeah.
Stay with us, Eric. You don't need to go there.
No, I gotta go. I'm like one of the staples of the group for the past 5 years. So
Eric.
So goodbye time.
yeah, we'll see you guys next week and have fun.
Okay, you too.
All right.
Bye.
Good luck.
Hi, Mr. Eric.
Okay.
And then
So
he was
we're
gone.
now about to be in our second hour here.
Phase
Make
2.
me forget about something. What am I forgetting?
Clyde, did you watch last week's show?
I watched bits and parts of it. I had it on and I was doing some stuff and I listened to. I kept hearing a lot of the Marvel characters. That's why I came up with the Fantastic Four, because
When
I
you
didn't hear
guys
all of
turned
it, no.
around, we devolve into debauchery.
Okay.
We did. No, we did turn to debauchery. We got into the actual science of what would have happened, and we got into the more technical terms of it. And if you took it out of context, you would think poorly.
We were a bunch of gynecologists
Yes. You know,
What was it?
or urologists.
Was it Mr. Fantastic and the Invisible Girl? Is this who we were
no,
talking
no, no,
about?
no. We were,
Oh,
we were
okay.
talking about Superman and Ben Grimm.
Oh.
With a little Magneto
Right.
thrown in for good measure.
Mm-hmm. Have you guys ever seen the? This is pretty blatant. Kurt Swan. Some reason he did a thing answering the questions of Lois and Superman, and illustrated by Kurt Swan, who was the. Have you ever seen those?
Mm-mm.
Okay, they were like underground things, but he did he illustrated a examination, and I want to say National Lampoon, but I'm not sure. But it was a deep dive, no pun intended, into into what the intricacies of Kryptonian and human love affairs might pertain to. And I remember finding it for the first time and going, that looks like Kurt Swan. Somebody has completely aped Kurt Swan style to make the. Oh my gosh, it is Kurt Swan. Oh,
Did he also cover Supergirl?
Huh?
Did he also cover Supergirl?
I don't think so. I've only seen the one. But
Well,
I don't know.
the theory is that at least with Superman, it would be similar to what happened in the movie Hancock.
Yes.
That was the theory. And it got to the point where we looked at that, and then we moved over to somebody like Ben Grimm, and was her name Alicia Masters? Alicia Masters.
Alicia. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's like how they were sort of like, well, how would that work? And we were talking about, well, prophylactics wouldn't completely do it, and then what happened if would he be on like Hancock level or not? And I was like, no, because again, you're dealing with living stone, and it'd be like, liquids finding its own path. Everything should be normal. So we were getting deep into the biology of it from time to time.
Parallax came up with the smooth stone theory.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the area where he stays smooth stone.
Mm-hmm.
The way that whatchamacallit first drew him, Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
Oh, lumpy thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was an interesting show. And at one point in my head, I'm going, hopefully Clyde won't see this.
No, Clyde would be like, no, that's interesting. I wish I would have been a part of that conversation.
I have read some really, really adult books and comics in my time. And there are some I read the Anne Roquelaure series from Anne Rice, where she was writing under a pseudonym because it was so
off the
out
nod.
there. Huh?
So off the nod.
So for its time, very, very raucous, and so I've read a lot of things like that that I find, I just want it to be quality. I'm not too particular about the things that I read as far as stories, as long as they're good quality. And Anne Roquelaure and Anne Rice, I mean, you know, not my style of writing and stuff like that, but I admire exactly how she could orchestrate her short stories or her novellas and also her books. Um, so yeah, when people go, well, I don't want to offend you, I'm like, I'm really not that easy to offend. So I don't always choose to. I don't review those kind of things very often. I don't read a lot of what I would call pinup books. That were
Mhm.
big in the '90s. I don't read those kind of things now because most of them are pretty boring after a while. I mean, they're just they're great graphics sometimes, but I read Tim Vigil's Faust. Back in the '90s. If you've ever read
Mm.
any of that, it
I
was,
I read a few of those books.
you know. So
But
um, anyway,
my opinion still stays the same here because there's a lot of, as Clyde would call it, TNA books that are out there. But when it comes to quality, because I was was seeing those books and I never understood what was the appeal to it, but yet I came across a couple of comic book series that is more manga than
mhm,
American comic. And I
mhm,
always bring this up as an example of good writing that explores that type of genre to the right degree, which was Ogenki Clinic.
mm,
In the
Okay.
United States, it was distributed by Sexy Fruit Comics. I believe they were an offshoot of Iron Cat Studios.
Okay.
And if you read it, because it was originally in Japan, it's a Genki Clinic, in Italian it was La Clinic dell'Amore. But bottom line, the long story short, it's about the one and only clinic in the world that is stationed in Japan that specializes in sexual deviancy. So it deals with people who were either ashamed about certain type of fetishes, couldn't operate in the bedroom and stuff to that magnitude. This one doctor pretty much had a cure for just about anything dealing with sex and fetishes.
mm,
Wow. Okay.
And it is an interesting read because I mean it explored a lot. I mean it explored the whole concept of like it does like medical cases. So it's like it was one medical case dealing with arguing lesbians. They're talking about, well, what is better, dildos or actual real penis.
mm.
And they had to explore. They literally explored the debate in that
Oh,
case
cool.
and whatnot.
Okay.
I mean, it was another one. It was another case where this one woman, who one woman could not get off with anybody other than her husband, and her husband passed, and she could
Ooh.
never really respond to another relationship because, again, her husband happened to be one of those people who were, if I could say, well endowed.
Hmm. She didn't dig him up.
No,
Oh, okay.
no, she didn't dig him up or anything, but it turns out that it wasn't the fact that it was his member that she was attached to. It was
Mm.
more of the thought of losing him, and they had to explore it in such a way where they had to do like kind of like a seance to exorcise him away from her.
So what he meant to her as her husband,
Hmm.
it was less
I mean,
about.
it was done in more of a comedy type deal, but it explored a lot of the psychological and medical aspects of it.
Mm.
Okay, I have to look that up.
We
My
did a
It,
oldest probably knows about it because he does his games are hentai based.
yeah, so he probably knows about it, but it haven't been published since like the '90s, and it was like 9 volumes of it,
Well,
and
he
I think I
probably
only have
knows.
8. I only think I have 8, and I'm still missing issues of it, but I have 8 of the 9 volumes.
Well, he's got friends in Japan.
Hmm.
So, and I think Moni-san, which is one of his good friends, is closer to my age than his. So, yeah, he may, talking to his friends, he may have heard about it from them.
Yeah, I might have one or two of the collected volumes behind me, but I don't think I have the time here to pull them out. But
Hmm.
after reading something like that, I'm more like Clyde. It's like this makes sense. Anything else is just like, okay, this is like how I feel about Saga. Saga on the surface level, where it talks about the difference in classics and all the other stuff dealing with that world, epic story. But when you just have the random, sex romps in between, it takes me for a loop. I was like, no, I can deal without it. To
Mm-hmm.
me, that downgrades your story
That's interesting.
because it serves no purpose other than shock value or okay, they're romantic lovers. You don't have to lay it on too thick to show that.
Hmm.
I
I mean, it
remember
seems like
that.
every other issue that there's something like that going on, and it's like, yeah, that's probably the real reason why people buy in it because you're doing that.
It's the titillation.
Mm-hmm.
So have we got reviews tonight?
I
Uh,
got one, but I'm not certain if the
Yay.
people are
I'm
ready for it.
giving my review time to you because I took it from you last time. So
I don't think so. Did you?
Well,
Did you or did you? I
we
don't
didn't
remember.
do any
It's
reviews
been a
last
good
week.
2
no, we
weeks.
didn't do any
Oh.
reviews last night because we got too deep
We got too
into the
deep into where we
conversation
were
about
going.
because it did start off that way. It just wandered into it because we got to the aspect of how did we get into it? We were talking about stories that had characters that seemed like they would not make great couples, and
Oh.
eventually it
Mhm.
went
And then
into
it
the
just went
problem
its
with
own way.
procreation with a lot of with some of the characters, such as Rogue. And I was like, to
Mhm.
me, it's like the whole thing with Rogue and Gambit. It's like, yeah, that's not as impossible had said with Magneto and Rogue and him having the electromagnetic force field just thin enough where they could
Mhm.
be intimate, but yet she does
She
not
couldn't.
drain. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was like,
Mhm.
it's like if you believe that, if you could believe that nonsense, I was like, why can't she be with Gambit? Because there's
Right.
other ways that Gambit could get around that.
Mhm. So what you got to review, Joe?
Is this where we have to vote 1 to 4?
Mm-mm,
Because Leia's
Uh-oh.
not
mm-mm,
here.
mm-mm. Nope, 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 nope. I don't know what to put how to really wrap my head around how I actually feel about it, but I'm not sure if it came out this week or last week. No, because I got it this week, so it came out last week. Oh, I have to be
Oh
big.
no.
I'm sorry,
Ah,
people.
It's another She-Hulk.
No,
yeah.
this is the last issue,
Oh, the last sensational She-Hulk. Yeah.
last of
It's a
volume two,
rap.
last issue of
Rap
volume two.
party. Rap party She-Hulk.
Yeah, this is the last issue of Sensational She-Hulk volume two. I don't know. I'm of mixed feelings of this here because it's bittersweet because I like what Rainbow Royale was doing up until this volume because the volume of She-Hulk before this that Rainbow was doing excellent. They stopped it and made it sensational She-Hulk to re get new people to start out at issue number one and all this other nonsense. I guess it's just going to be it is what it is. But if you remember where I was talking about with issue number 9, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on here. She was asked to rejoin the Avengers, and a lot of life things were changing drastically at the very end of it. And this issue tried its best to wrap it up in a nice bow. And I say it did its best, but considering that issue number 9 really didn't have too much of a cliffhanger, it's just pretty much, you know, it's kind of like that final episode where everybody says their goodbyes and everything, and like with Alice, it's like everything, everybody said their last goodbyes, and they turn off the light to the diner for the very last time, Mel's diner off for the very last time, or something like
WKRP.
RP of Cincinnati, something like that. That's how this issue felt. That's how this issue felt here. They wrapped up all the loose ends of this particular series, where the next creative team could technically start anew. So they didn't leave anything really unturned here. So to start out here, it's like the very first page, you got her with the Avengers. She's out there on a mission and everything, and she's getting phone calls about from the apartment complex where she has her apartment and everything, and she was working out all the logistics and everything while they were on a mission and everything. The Avengers complete their mission and whatnot, and she's back to being a full-fledged member. And then they have a memorial for Ray Chan. He passed away.
Right.
He was kind of more of like a production designer for Marvel Studios here. So after the mission, she finally gets back to New York, and she finds out that the lower part of her career is still going on, but the office is a little bit bigger and everything is going on, and she's still practicing law and everything, and she everything was slowly coming back to normal. And then they dealt with the whole thing about Jack of Hearts and her relationship with Jack and everything. And it seems like everything is going to be swimmingly well. And, she brings Jack to a social gathering in the secret base of the Avengers as of right now. And he kind of felt like left out of place and whatnot. And she kind of peeped that and everything. So she figured out a way to make him feel more at home as far as her being back with the Avengers and everything to that magnitude. And, it shows that, what the series started off as everything going to shit in her life, now is coming back full circle, where she's kind of like has the it factor again, and she's back with the Avengers. The law career is coming back. She has a stable relationship and everything, and she's able to finish off her final case. She finally got the one case that she had that she never finished before all of this stuff happened with the one couple that was stealing the Hulk DNA. She finally resolves that and gets them an apartment and everything, and the condo complex finally accepted them and everything, and she's back to her ever loving normal self here as far as her life is everything is concerned. And she meets up with Patsy, and pretty much was like, everything is hunky dory again, and that's where everything leaves off. Tied everything up in a nice bow for the next creative team to come in and do whatever they want. Now, do I particularly like how they did this? Not really. Only because of the simple fact that there was nothing that was really, deep that was told in this volume of She-Hulk. I mean, like I said, it was lost opportunities. But I don't blame Rainbow. I don't blame the creative staff. I blame more or less the editors, if there were editors, or the people who make the overall bigger decisions based upon sales and whatnot. I don't think that Sensational Shield was a bad selling series, but I don't think it was one of the more popular ones either. But saying that to say, it's like, I don't know what it is about younger comic book readers now, but me being an older one, it's like, yeah, I see where things are going with certain stories. And I see where things are going bad. I just think that Rainbow World just got a bad shake with this volume. They should have just left everything alone with the other volume and have Rainbow keep going from issue, I think it was 15. There was no need for volume 2 for Sensational She-Hulk. But when they did that, I just think that the what momentum that they had just changed. It just changed, and even this type of story that was being told changed. Overall, this issue I would give the issue a 6 out of 10. It's not a bad issue. Don't get me wrong, it's not a bad issue, but like I said, it was just a nice little farewell present that they gave to everybody just to wrap up all the loose ends. She still with Jack of Hearts at the end of this year. She's back with the Avengers. She still had her law career, so everything is looking up in her eyes, and she's back to being what she's supposed to be, the sensational She-Hulk, at least the way that the end reads here. But in the overall arcing volume, it did never felt that way. It felt like everything was taking a turn for the worse. And the story that was about to get told about the one couple that was stealing Hulk DNA, and the wife became a Hulk and all this other stuff, that to me would have been more of the avenue to go down, and to actually tell about the value about being a She-Hulk. I mean, you did this before with Lyra. You did this before. You did this, a little bit with the confrontation between her and Betty as Red. You could have did the exact same thing with this new one, but you pulled back on the reins on that, and you focus more on the relationship with her and Jack. And it went down a rabbit hole that most people didn't expect. Was it a bad rabbit hole? No, but it was just something that people were not expecting. And on that note, I give the overarching volume of Sensational She-Hulk Volume 2 a 6 out of 10. I believe it could have been a heck of a lot better, but like I said before, I don't know what's going over there at Marvel. Like I said, I blame the editors more so than anything else. If Rainbow had more time to develop a lot of this stuff, it probably would have been a better book. That's just my opinion.
Mm-hmm. It sounds very pat, just
Mhm.
taking no chances. And that can be satisfying sometimes, but it can also, it's sort of like, having a tub of popcorn and you just eat it all. And then you feel you're satisfied, but you're also feeling kind of ashamed because you just gobbled it all down and it's empty calories kind of thing. So,
Well,
I like my
well,
popcorn.
right. Well, no, using your analogy, it's like having that big tub of popcorn and watching, sitting there and watching a movie. By the time, if you finish your popcorn before the time the movie ends, you kind of left unsatisfied because
yeah.
you kind of wish that everything went, hand in hand. You wish that the movie drew you in a little bit more where you didn't realize you ate up all your popcorn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I've only seen one movie that's ever done that to me. It was the original Jaws. My
Oh.
stepfather took me. I was 14. We went, it was, Joe will know this, it was the theater on Randolph across from the Oriental. So it was on the south side of Randolph.
Well, shoot,
I think it was either the Illinois or
something like that. Yeah, that you going way back into
oh
like
yeah,
the
me.
80s.
I'm sorry, me, Sherman, and the dog are in the machine. Forgive
No,
us.
no, no, no. You're going back to the 80s. No, I was thinking more recent. That's like, no, you're thinking 80s because it's like across the street from the Oriental. It's like, wow, you going back a couple of years.
Oh, I'm going back decades.
No, I'm being nice. What? See, you always ruin me being nice. It's like I went back decades. Like,
Well, if it's
Anyway,
Jaws' first run, first run Jaws, it's in the mid '70s. So I mean, it's this is
yeah.
there too.
So,
yeah.
like I said, I was 14. He took me into the theater, and I had a box of Raisinets. And we all know what happens in that first 10 minutes. I don't think I have to describe it for anybody here. And I'm not describing it because Lils and Beanie may be there and I don't want to give them nightmares. But I swear, after, you hear the final, oh God, and she goes under, I looked down, I'd eaten all my Raisinets and half the box. Because I didn't realize I was just going. My stepfather got up, I think at the second bite, got up, walked out of the theater, and didn't come back in for me until the movie ended.
Wow.
And I wanted to kill him because he left me in that theater alone.
With a man-eating shark on the loose. It just leaves you.
Anybody who's seen Saturday Night Theater, I mean, not Saturday Night Theater, Saturday Night Live knows them sharks love they love New York and they love the sewers.
Yeah.
You know, ding dong, who is it? It's the pizza guy. Ding dong. What was it?
The land shark. The land shark.
The land shark. First, it was a sewer shark. The first one they did was a sewer shark. And he was very crafty. He was or as Gollum would say, he was very tricksy. Because, you know, it was funny because the first one, he's like, you know, you hear ding dong. Who is it? It's the pizza guy. Hold on, wait a minute. I didn't notice. She opens the door. And I love it because there was the one where I think later in the skit, they've had the thing on, you know, beware the sewer shark. He pretends to be a pizza man because this shark can speak. And so I think it's Lorraine Newman or somebody, the bell gets rung and she's like, who is it? Pizza guy. Oh, I know you're not the pizza guy that we've heard about the shark. And it goes, it's FTD Florist or something like that. She's like, oh, okay. Yeah, something like that. Throws the door open. Oh, I've been
Just gotta know what bait, how to bait your trap, don't you?
You know, the only other shark movie I've seen that was as hilarious as that skit was Sci-Fi Channel, one of their early shark films, when they decided to do Megalodon, featured a shark that had dialogue. It didn't have intentional dialogue, but when the shark is swimming around, boom, 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 it's like, okay, the shark has dialogue. And to me, that was my favorite part of the movie because the shark seemed to have better dialogue than all the human actors. So I was like, oh, please bring the shark back. I want to see more shark dialogue.
I'm ready to shake an angry fist at you, Elaine, because now you make me think about Deep Blue Sea.
Oh, I love Deep Blue Sea. John and I saw that the first time. And okay, Leia, put your fingers in the girl's ear and yeah, come at me, YouTube. When Blondie in the tube gets it, and it's like, oh, look, John, they've taken eating pussy to a whole new level. And he just looked up at me like, Mom!
I still think about the monologue, and it's like he goes into that monologue, he goes into that speech, and it's like, I'm tired, and then as soon as he finished,
we are like, not gonna fight anymore, you know. And then all of a sudden, woo,
that was the funniest moment for a serious shark movie to have ever seen, because it's like every time I see it, I just busted up laughing because it was just a tirade. It was literally a tirade.
And in the middle of the I gotta say, and when you get under that whole snakes on a plane, when he's delivering a similar line, I half expected all of the snakes at once to just kind of a repeat of that.
It's like a big old python out of nowhere just swallows them whole or something like that, because they say it's like a python could actually wrap itself around like a small rhino.
Yeah.
Yeah. It that made the Anaconda movies a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You know, and the people who asked me, well, why was the first one so successful? Because everybody was hoping to see the Anaconda try to take on Jennifer Lopez's booty. So they wanted to know how many bites it would take. And the get that booty down. Oh, come on. Tell me I'm not. Tell me I'm lying. Tell me I'm lying. Okay. There were brothers lining up just to see if they were that snake was gonna get that booty. Come on.
See,
We
Elaine
got
needs an MRI. She likes terrible movies.
Right,
Hashtag
come on.
confirmed.
at least the first movie had something of a story in
Mhm.
it. It was a stupid story, but it was still something.
Story. Yeah.
It was still something of a story, you know. And Eric Stoltz goes down in history as one of the actors who got paid, who got a nice chunk of change to go to South America and sleep during the production. So, you know, there's that. You know, though I still Deep Blue Sea, the first one, I still love LL Cool J's line to what's his name at the end, and he's because his legs are in the water. He goes, "Are you sure all the sharks are dead?" You know, and he lifts his legs off up, and so he goes, "Good, that's good." You don't know they could still be in that water. My favorite shark movie has got to be Meg. The Meg was a lot of fun, and because it was one of those things you could tell it was a lampoon. You know, it was making fun of the whole megalodon shark movie thing, and they were having fun with it. The second movie was more okay, y'all. You know, that just felt more like y'all made money, and now you're trying to see how much more money you can grab. But the first movie, I thought the Meg was a lot of fun. It was because it had a couple of good scary parts, but it had a lot of great stupid parts. You know, like a megalodon is hopping out the water, and you go put your legs up to push it back. You know, yeah, that's gonna work. I don't care if you Jason Statham. Just putting your
That's either going to be chopped leg or broken leg.
it's
I mean, I
like
just found that's the impact alone was like something that big coming out the water, hitting your legs. It's like that's bone
that should have
crushing.
hello, that
That's
should have
bone crushing, bone breaking impact.
he should have lost his kneecaps at that point.
People
You
don't
know,
realize even like smaller fishes, such as like like catfish and perches and stuff. If you don't grab them a certain way, their fins can cut you.
oh yeah. I first time I ever had to when I was 7, when I learned how to scale fish and gut them, I made that mistake. Will not make it again.
By the end of the movie, you gonna be peg leg. I'm gonna keep pushing them back. That's one. That's two. My knee.
But like I said, the first Meg was a lot of fun, and the second one was I just think they should have, you know, they called the Meg 2. They should have been subtitled "Stupid is as stupid does."
But that would get into the Dumb and Dumber franchise.
But when you think it actually made me sit. I'm looking at it, going, okay, this is Dumb and Dumber going after a shark, right? You already know what these babies are capable of, and then you also want us to believe that they brought some prehistoric buddies up with them this time. You know? They brought these little prehistoric buddies up with them these times, and they hungry because I guess they've been surviving down there with nothing to eat. You know? And get their first taste of human and like, ooh, yeah, it'd be good. I just it was, you know, it's like, and it was funny because the first one was kind of like it reminded me one of my favorite sci-fi movie stupid monster movies was about and it starts Summer Glau from Serenity of all things, from Firefly. It was about a mastodon that had been dug up and was going to be put on display in this small town, and yet this alien essence, and it's vampiric, so it ends up getting into the mastodon, and we're talking a mastodon. So it's about, the size of my building, Joe. A mastodon is about just a little shorter than my building. This mastodon can sneak up on you and it suck the life force out of you. So, and that's how it was killing people. Once it got possessed by this alien thing, this mastodon that they found in the ice that was already half falling apart was shambling around quietly where no one could hear it, and would sneak up on you. And then by the time you turned around and went, whoo, it was sucking your life force out. It's like, okay, now I get it. Bull elephants, it is a danger in Africa and certain parts of India, because young male elephants elephants can sneak up on you. They can be very, very quiet when they want to. And if you're not paying attention, you could turn around and go, whoa, aren't you the big dude? And, usually though, if it's a herd, so long as you're not if you're not endangering the herd, they'll tend to go around you. The young males, if they don't have an elder male to look after them, are kind of dangerous, but they do love cornfields. They will sneak up in the middle of the night and eat all your corn, which makes life in those areas very fun. But I was just sitting there going, Charles and I watched it together, and we could not stop laughing, because it's like, okay, you can see its skeletal structure. Half its foot pads are gone. You can hear them bones creaking. The fact that it can still move, because usually most of the tendons in the bones at that stage should be resting. So you should at least hear some scritch, 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 something. It's like, how is something that big near the smell? The smell of a decomposing mammoth is not pretty. So,
Snuffleupagus powers.
I guess
that's the only way, because when you said that description, the only thing I thought about was like, wow,
Mr. Snuffleupagus,
a life-stealing Snuffleupagus.
Count Woolly Pachyderm.
All you really needed then was Big Bird showing up. Hey, have you seen my friend? It's definitely right up there in my view of all-time greatest sci-fi horror, sci-fi stupid movies. It's Godzilla 98 had Gojira.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. We got it. He was also really big. Gojira in the 98 film with Matthew Broderick was huge. I mean, he was amazing. He was a lot bigger than other Godzillas, But my youngest fell in love with the I will say that movie spawned 2 or 3 different Godzilla animated series.
Yes. I remember there was the one that was Kids WB.
Yeah, that one had the Matthew Broderick character and his team working with Godzilla. One of the eggs, they found one of the eggs and they raised it so that it was not humaniverse. I guess it didn't want to eat people. And they would take it. It was the Monster of the Week show, because basically that was Godzilla's job. He was to go out there. And sometimes when I see the new Gojira Kong movie, I think, okay, whoever is part of this production saw these animateds, because those movies have now turned into go find the monster of the week.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, and they do it well. I'm not spitting on them. They do it very well. We get some great lore and whatnot, but you know, it is pretty much the monster of the week or the monster of the movie. You know?
I still want to. I know they probably have it, the older version of this. I still want to see Godzilla versus Gamera because that's a fight that would never end. Technically, it's a fight that would never end because I don't believe there's anything that could literally stop Godzilla, and I don't think there wouldn't be a child that never would have hope to keep Gamera from Gamera from not fighting.
That's why I don't think it. If you go by the old Japanese lore, I don't think it was possible because Gamera was the children's. You know, I remember watching Gamera as a kid, and Gamera was the children's friend. You know, kids were always like Gamera. You know, Godzilla may have had the little Filipino fairy girls, but every child in Japan had Gamera as his buddy.
And the legend is not just Japan; it's the whole entire world. As long as there's one child that
has
still
hope.
believes, Gamera is not going to lose. That's why I say it's the fight that never ends because Godzilla has no off.
Oh no! Guess what just went through my head.
What?
It was a year without the Gamera. From the year, it was a year without a Santa Claus, but it's Gamera. I'm sorry. It just popped. Okay, you know what? You gotta quit doing that, Peabody. Don't be sending me thoughts like that. It's the dog. He's sitting here in the corner, you know, telepathically bugging me.
Wait, so he just told you to be quiet, girl. Like the cartoon is like, shut up, boy.
Hush. Okay, before we lose it, Clyde. Got a book?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Boy, this is a good week for comics too. It was hard to pick for the store pick this week. It was really hard to come up with one because they were all good, or they were all ongoing series that hit a note of advancement or big development in the storyline. So this one is one I've heard of before. This is I need to get the trade and read it, I guess.
I have to show you that. She said, "Oh no." She said at first she said, "Oh no."
Oh, this is gonna cost me money.
This is going to cost me money.
I want every book.
I want every book Clyde review.
Okay, so Cowl 1964. I don't know if you've ever heard of this. It's in Chicago, which is really cool. And the first series was about the first attempt after World War II to unionize powered individuals.
Ooh.
Yeah. And
Superhero
all of the they have villains with powers running rampant, and they want heroes, and the heroes are like, well, they get killed in the line of duty. It's sort of like some law enforcement that they don't have any kind of benefits or anything. They get hurt badly. They're out of work. There's no coverage. So they get the idea to organize a labor union of superheroes, which is a very interesting concept. And this takes place after a big falling out amongst the early version of the union. And now you have one of the people that was in charge initially trying to unionize the country, every major city. Wow. With and to not only to unionize for their regular workers, but also, like, if you have powers and you want to operate in their city, you have to get a permit through them. You have to be affiliated with the union. So it's got a lot of politics as far as like union labor politics in it, but also the threat of supervillains and people that are trying to harm the population. And this issue has a very nice little recap of the first series, And so I didn't feel like I missed out on anything. Once I got the characters lined out as who they were, it was a very easy read without having read the first series. So this impressed me. I really liked it. Now we have Ultimate Spider-Man number 8. And this is the one where, Peter Parker didn't become Spider-Man until he was in his 30s, and he's a husband and a father. And in this world where it has been manipulated to have no heroes, now that they have a hero and some others that are being brought along because some of the time shenanigans have been undone, you have a different Sinister Six, a very unique and cool Sinister Six. You basically have the Kingpin in charge of crime in New York, and he handles one of the boroughs. The other 4 boroughs he has a lieutenant in charge of those, and some of them are Spider-Man villains, and some of them are other kinds of villains. And then there's a 6th member of an underground borough in New York. And I'm loving this series, and the idea that you have the Sinister Six, but different members in some cases, it's really, really cool. And why those members and not maybe some others. Okay, so you guys were talking about Godzilla and Kaiju. This was the most eclectic book I picked up this week. This is from Titan Comics. And it's called Huge Detective. And I tell you, I kid you not, this is the most out there. I've never seen anybody present a storyline like this that is just so matter of fact for a fantastic storyline that it's like, yeah, we know this is really, really, out there, but we're going to treat it like every day. And so the thing that you have is giants awaken. We have all these legends about giants. Well, they've been like basically in a state of hibernation, and this is part of their physiology, and they wake up.
Ooh.
And they come to the surface, and all these pesky people have they knew that there were people before, but it's gotten out of hand while they were hibernating. And so war breaks out, and it looks like they even nuke a few of these giants. But you're talking about giants that are the size that in 30 steps they can cross the Atlantic.
Wow.
Yeah, they're huge. And they're all over the place. So they decide, humanity decides if they're going to survive, they can't nuke everything, to get rid of all the giants. You're going to destroy the planet enough that humans won't probably survive either. So they make an agreement that the giants can have Australia.
Oh, those poor kangaroos.
And all of the Australians, so every major city now has like a little Australia because they had to move out. And then the giants figure out that they can, these people, these clever little humans have made some wonderful products and refined alcohol, and so they basically come to an agreement of commerce. Like I said, 30 steps to get across the ocean. They have like jetliner packs on their back, like cargo holds. They just walk people across in exchange for the things that humans make that they like.
Oh, so Foster's Australian for beer, mate.
There you go. Now,
still thinking
it's huge, but it's huge detective. So now you take that setting and you turn it into a neo-noir story of a mystery, a mysterious death that needs to be solved. And you throw in a character who is believes he's huge when he's actually a human, and but he has information that they need. And you have a human detective and a huge detective. You have to combine forces to, this is just, it just sounds so bizarre, but they are so straightforward with it. And it's just so matter of fact. It's charming. It's just a charming and creative, endlessly creative book.
Cool.
Titan. Yeah, Titan they have the whole Conan thing going, but I'm glad that they're doing some things like this as well. They do the Conan stuff very well, but I really thought this was the most creative thing I read probably all week.
Cool.
So now, if you like Ghost Machine, my store, uh, Colossus Comics and Games in Mount Vernon, Illinois, gave me this little preview of the Ghost Machine. You know, it's got all the red coat and um, it's got the
Geiger and
Geiger,
Redco
the Geiger stories,
and then my favorite
the
Junkyard
Rook,
Joe.
Junkyard Joe. But this is their version of horror. They're doing a horror kind of anthology book called Hyde Street.
Ooh.
And this is awesome. They tell a little story in here. It's just kind of a sample, but it has some excellent artwork.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, this is going to be. I think it comes out in time for Halloween. We're going to be really horror anthology poor this year. There's a lot of anthologies coming out of horror stuff, but this was just for a little short read. It was just excellent stuff. So. This is the kind of reason, I don't know if you buy comics online or not, but if you have a local comic store, I've never gotten anything like this online when I order comics. So this is why you need to support your local comic book shop.
Well, I actually am going to Hyde Park. I'm coming through Hyde Park on my way home on Friday.
Yay!
Since I have to stop at Trader Joe's, it's just I have to go past First Aid
Walk up
to
on
get to
the
the bus.
viaduct to get to James and
So I can stop in and say, hey, I've heard about, and one of my comic book friends told me about it. Do you have it?
Do you have it?
Do you have it, comic?
Can you get it for me?
Speaking of horror anthologies, we have the second issue of Epitaphs from the Abyss, the official continuation of the EC Comics line. We have 3 stories instead of 4 this time. The last story they gave a little more space to, but again, these are EC style horror stories with a very modern focus and bent. We have Death by Social Media. We have Consumerism Zombie. We have we also have civil unrest in the streets. We have modern things to consider, and but with this EC kind of storytelling, if you like horror stuff, this is a must read. Okay, so Redcoat number 5. Finally, all this time we've gotten this kind of meandering story about the history of the country of the United States and these underground strange cult-like organizations trying to manipulate stuff. And we finally have a breakthrough about who's actually pulling the strings on this. So,
sharks.
What?
It's the sharks.
Oh yeah, sharks. Yeah, definitely sharks.
Sharks.
Yeah, your topics have been right on all the books for this week. Destro.
Yes.
Destro number 3. Oh, we get the history of Clan Destro. It's wonderful.
See, I'm going to make you a G.I. Joe fan if it kills you, Clyde.
Hey,
this is love these side stories when they go into these characters.
We have a dialogue between the first Destro weapons maker and a representative of Oliver Cromwell back in his day. We have this Destro talking to a representative of the President of the United States as a parallel across time. It's just it's beautiful. This is the way to do a bad guy headlining a book. This is the way to do it right.
But is he truly a bad guy?
Well, I mean, that's debatable. That's part of the charm
that's
of the
what
book.
makes Destro.
Exactly.
He does what he needs to do.
Right. And he has a sense of honor and legacy about him that I really like. Okay, so probably the most beautiful book of the week is Standstill. This is a this is Image doing what Image does best. This is a $4.99 book, but we have this beautiful cardboard cover, and they gave it extra pages so that they could do splash work like this. And a lot of times we feel like this would be wasted space, but they gave it extra space and they didn't charge a lot extra for it. Which $4.99. A lot of times their books are $3.99, but the extra $1, it's worth it. And a quirkier, weirder story you're not going to find, because this is all of the this is our protagonist, one of them at least, and he has a little device that he's procured that allows him to stop time. In the hands of some people, this would be bad. We're not really sure in his hands how it's going to turn out. I think he's sort of he does things, he hires out to do things, but he's also relieved from needing a lot of stuff. He doesn't need a lot of money. He doesn't need a lot of anything. So he's kind of a wild card. And if you have a cause and you present it to him, he just may help you with it. It takes many forms, many different forms, but this first issue, we get a feeling for, this biker bar had victimized a young lady, apparently, this biker gang, and he walks in and begins to insult them. And yeah, this is some payback before he's done. So yeah, that's just the opening little salvo, but and it's not the situation, it's how he plays it that makes you go, ooh, yeah. It's quirky, it's a little bit bent, but it's very entertaining and it's beautifully done. But my review is going to be one that's a couple weeks. Actually, I read this a couple weeks ago, but it's such a good book. And I was I read it and I thought, this is one of my favorite books this week. And I went and looked, and it was not getting a lot of great ratings. People reviewed it a bit, but it wasn't really catching on. And I thought, I need to put this out there because it deserves better than this. I was happy this week when I went back and checked some of the review stats that it has gone up by like 2 points, 2 full points, not percentage, 2 full points. So I think other people have discovered, hey, this is a good read. It's kind of underwhelming at first. I mean, like when I read the solicitation, I was really on the fence. I wasn't sure because, it didn't have something to grab me like a giant detective and a human detective join forces in a world where giants, where Kaiju Kevin actually lives in Australia. It just comes off as a much more modest story than that, but it's a modest story done very well. So, Red Before Black, #1. The price is $4.99. It is written by Stephanie Phillips, and she's becoming one of my favorite writers this year. I tell you, she's really coming into her own, I think. The art is by Goran Suzuka. The colors by Ivy Zborsina. And the letterer is Tom Napolitano. And the publisher is Boom Studios. They suggest it as material for mature readers, and I must agree with them because of the topics, and it's pretty violent story. So just to show you what we're talking about here. So here's our cover. It has mainly two female protagonists are our heroes in this story. Or I say heroes. That's, again, like Destro, that's debatable.
Yes.
But it's that kind of not exactly terribly heroic stuff. We start off with a murder in a swamp, and it kind of goes down the rowdy way from there. Let's see here. Find the right pages. We have, I love the way that the artist does facial expressions. This one page is mainly a conversation between two people that used to serve together. And their whole way, their approach in this talk and as it develops is interesting. It's just a talk, but it gets you really involved in her backstory and his backstory of how they have served together. Now, you have the other female lead. She reminds me of a Harley Quinn kind of character. She's just kind of
Yeah, that smile, that last panel on the bottom.
yeah, yeah. Definitely has that kind of a, devil may care sort of attitude, which contrasts with the other person quite a bit. But we can also see that she is not above taking care of business. And yeah, as you see, I have changed these, so we didn't have any kind of the book it doesn't say that, but I would agree with the guy if I had somebody running their car into my
and it was on fire.
abode. Yeah, and on fire and everything. So, and then of course we have the meeting of these two major characters.
Ooh, cool.
Yeah. So, excuse me. So writer Stephanie Phillips always delivers good dialogue and a combination of smart and blistering dialogue when applied against those who oppose her protagonists. I've read enough of her stuff now. It's like you can always count on some of the heroes, sometimes the supporting characters too, cutting people off at the knees with their comments to them. I mean, they do not suffer fools readily. So in the first issue of Red Before Black, Phillips gives great dialogue through Val, an ex-con and a former soldier seeking opportunity after doing an 8-year prison term. Given what seems like a very specific and martial skill set, she decides that her best options for quick financial gain, now that she's out, is within the illegal drug trade overseen by her bar owner, Miles, who is a comrade from her past. With a rapier tongue applied using the skill of an Olympic fencing medalist, Val comes through. She cuts her way through his whole retinue of hired people without ever getting violent and makes her appeal to him. So her former associate needs no proof of her skills, verbal or militant. But the people that Miles works for, he assures her that they're going to need more than just her say so. So she's assigned the task of taking out Lenora, aka Leo. That's a now ex-employee of Mike's because of the way that she kind of lifted a shipment of his cocaine as severance pay and quit. So the final act peels away layers of some psychological trauma and an underlying motivation for Val's audition. Red Before Black #1 sets up a very firm and at times funny foundation for what I think is going to unfold into either a buddy felon adventure. Instead of a buddy cop adventure, you got buddy felon adventure, or maybe kind of it does remind me of some of the chemistry, the brief initial chemistry that Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn share. So it may go down that route of their more modern relationship. Don't know for sure yet. Phillips stays very focused with minimalist introductions of these main players and their stakes through a neo-noir lens. And on the art, Goran Sudzuka sharpens that focus with the layouts and the panels playing off both sides of the coin, the neo against the noir. You see it go back and forth, back and forth. And his line work it's uncomplicated. Background details are pretty basic, and yet it conveys everything it needs to. The maximum impact through facial expressions and body language. With the premiere here, Phillips and Suzuka, they work a bit of the kind of magic that Brubaker and Phillips have modernized or have done before, and they kind of a more modern take on it. But it really at times reminded me of a great Brubaker and Phillips less is more approach to a mystery or to a crime drama. Okay. Val and Leo, they are tough, clever protagonists who may not be heroes, but they are worlds better than most of their opposition are. You can always root for them if there's somebody worse out there, and there's definitely some worse players here.
So they're gray hats instead of white ones.
I'm sorry?
They're gray hats instead of white ones.
I would say so. I think we're going to see them as very gray hats, but others are wearing, pitch black hats, very, very bad hats. So I think we're going to see that they don't look so bad compared to some of the other folks. And some of those folks are on, it's a cops and robbers kind of a story. Well, those hats fall on both sides of that aisle, those black hats. So, kind of a Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid sort of a take
Okay, cool.
on these two. Yeah. So these characters, these two characters, they are flawed, they're tarnished, they're jaded, and yet you still get this feeling from both of them in different ways that they have individual versions of hope that they're holding on to. And this first issue makes you want to see that the resulting payoff for them having some hope for the world despite everything else that's going on in their lives. And you also want to see their payback because I think it's going to be really good. So for a lean and gritty opening salvo, plus I got to say, it's the most clever comics title name that I have seen in quite a while because neither one of these characters are red or black. You got to read it. You got to read it and you'll get what the title means. But I'm going to give Red Before Black, #1, a score of 8 Eric Masters burnt paintings out of 10 and a Comic Book Spectrum No prize for anyone understanding that reference.
See, that's going to be an awfully hard no prize to earn if you're not up to speed on that. But I do have to apologize for giggling in the middle of it because I was reading this. I was reading this. Doom needs no one, Petey says. She's a Doom fan. She says he's not a bad guy. He's just living the world just differently. And I was like, I have to applaud her because it's like, somebody's been reading their books because isn't that what Owatu's been saying for the longest time? That he's not really evil. It's like in some multiverse, he actually is the savior of the universe.
There you go.
I thought you were reading Leia's earlier post. I'm going to read it so you don't have to post it up there. It says, "Curse you to Hades, Clyde. Lightning bolt cracking behind me." You're in such trouble.
Yeah, it's like I've been wanting to read horror and gothic and just, general creepy lately. So I have to look these up. Yep.
Now,
and then
a warning. I was going to mention this earlier, but last week I got Werewolf by Night, the one shot that fits in with their Vampire War big event that Marvel has going on right now. I'm not reading that, but Werewolf by Night, I will get a single issue of that as a one shot. I know it's connected, but still, I want to see. And it's got Bloodstone. She makes an appearance in it too. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm aboard. It is the most worthless one shot I have ever read.
Oh man.
I know
that says a lot coming from you.
I know. I mean, it's completely involved in that storyline, which means nothing to me. It does not stand on its own at all. I don't think it plays a significant part in that main storyline. I think it's just a chance to, hey, people will buy this because it's got a Werewolf by Night header on it.
But didn't Marvel already do the Marvel versus Vampires thing? They had a whole Mutants versus Vampires.
DC certainly did, but I don't know.
No, Marvel did because they Wolverine got Jubilee got bit.
Okay.
She then turns Wolverine, and at the time in which it looks like the vampires are winning, Scott monologues, and at the end of it, and it's funny because he's monologuing. I'm thinking at some point a vampire should have just jumped and bit his butt, but turns out that they knew that they figured Jubilee or somebody would get turned and they would go after Wolverine. So Scott put this thing in his system that turned off Wolverine's his immunity factor and clicked the thing and turned it back on. So all of a sudden, boom, Wolverine's no longer a vampire.
Okay.
And they get a young, threatening looking Dracula to show up. and then things start to turn.
Mhm.
And they kind of make this agreement with Dracula, you don't start nothing, won't be nothing.
Right.
And
This
they
is
have,
called this event is called Blood Hunt, and I know it has vampires in it. But yeah, that sounds familiar. You're right. This is
Yeah,
from
but
the house of reused ideas. So I'm sure it's
right.
been done all
It,
done before.
it was a way to bring Blade back to the forefront because it's dealing
Okay.
with more with Blade and his daughter and trying to deal with bringing back vampires into the Marvel universe in the more modern way.
because
Right.
they're also trying to reboot the Blade film series.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There's also a lot of they're trying to reboot the Blade film series.
Right.
Only thing is I'm not sure who they're going to find to carry that character the way Wesley Snipes did, because
Mhm.
he took that character and made it something so much different than what the books were. He made Blade, at one point he and Blade were synonymous.
Mhm.
uh I'm not sure. It's kind of like, I get why some people are like, I don't know if I want to see RDJ as another character because he became so synonymous with Iron Man,
Right.
the way Chris Evans became synonymous with Captain America. And I used to remind people, before he's already worked for Marvel before because he was the original um, Johnny Storm
Mhm.
in two of those Fantastic Four movies.
Yeah,
And
true.
people look at me like, there are Fantastic Four movies. It's like,
Yes.
yes, he was Jessica Alba's brother.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Joanne Griffith was Reed
the
Richards.
overly miscast Sue Storm.
Yes, I just the only my favorite line of hers is that's I think that's like her best line ever in both the movies is
Hey, I was going to ask you, Elaine, if you
Mhm.
recognized when I did the thumbs this week, did you recognize who you were?
Yes, I believe. Well, I don't know if I'm trying to think who that character
I
was.
was gonna because you guys were talking about Alicia earlier, Alicia Masters.
Yes,
I was gonna use
yes,
her, but I couldn't because I always do glasses for you. Well, she's blind,
yes.
and she didn't wear
Blind.
any glasses in the movies. And I
But
thought, you know,
I'm pretty
so,
much blind without my glasses.
so I thought that would be insensitive to put the blind character with glasses on. So I found out though in the last Fantastic Four movie that they tried, they were going to have Sue Storm, Johnny was black, and they were going to have Sue Storm be black, and they had a couple of people. She was the main actress that they were going to approach before either the director, the producer, whatever went. No, 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 we can't have that. So, but she was tapped to. She was in the head of the run to be that actress was. So I went ahead and made her Sue Storm.
It's like, oh, I'm the Invisible Woman.
uh,
And I keep trying to tell all my friends, but understand, while I have quite a few friends and family from the day on my Facebook,
mhm.
what I do is what they refer to as Elaine's blurred stuff or her nerdy thing.
Okay.
So it's like I'm live every Thursday on a YouTube show. It's your nerd thing, right? Yes, it's my nerdy thing. It always reminds me of, what's love got to do with it. I can, I can just hear, yeah, go do your la-di-da thing. It's like, yeah, that's how it feels. I
Just want to hurry up. We're on It's like I refuse to watch Fantastic Four. That's the last version of Fantastic Four that they came out with Michael B. Jordan as Johnny Storm.
I didn't
Yeah.
watch that. I just
Well, if you look at all these characters that I chose, they kind of have a thing about
I see
with
Mr.
I
I
mean
see Mr. Jordan.
our Robert Downey Jr. may do fine, but I just thought all of these were somewhat the movies themselves were somewhat
But
So
it works. It works for us, and that's all we need to.
Mhm.
I forgot
Very
I'd
good.
given you Monstrous.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a book that once I get the first issue of And the Coming of Nighttime done, um, I have a couple of short stories I have to work on. It's going to be like an anthology book, a collection of short stories or illustrated shorts and short comics and some artwork.
Mhm.
So a collection of stuff that I really, that I've had other places like Whale and Old Dogs, which you have to go to Seven Robots to get in their Earth Dream anthologies and other things. Like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna just put all of that together, and people can see it, including a couple of pieces that I've written that people don't know about, like Gray Day. Is one about weird eyeballs. But
Weird
it's
eyeballs.
it's about changing, when you what is it, when you change the way you look at the world changes. You have to have gone into therapy to get it. And as somebody who spent out of 62 years, at least 20 something of those 62 years in therapy, I've come, that's what I've come out with. When you change the way you look at the world you look at changes. And if I'd have remembered that, I could have saved a lot of money on Wayne Dyer books.
Mm.
Well, next week I'm going to start talking about the Mage books because
Ah,
I have all of the original um, series. I don't have the second one, but I have all of the original series, The Hero Discovered, um, by Matt Wagner, because I was able to get them at First Aid Comics. I was telling James about Mage, and it's like, do you have Mage by any chance? It's an old book from like the 80s, 90s, and it's this guy, and he was like, yeah, I know that book. And I'm like, yeah, was yeah, it's a 3 volume set for the first series. And I'm like, it took a little saving
Elaine, you're cutting out really bad.
of pennies. Shut up, phone. It,
Somebody's on the phone. Oh,
it
that's not good.
thinks it's a Great Dane. My
Elaine, you're
phone
cutting out
thinks
really bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're going in and out very, very bad.
it's
Oh, we just lost her for a second.
I look forward though to her talking about Mage because I remember selling copies of the book at the comic book
Hmm.
shop. I never could get
Mhm.
into it, but I'm really looking forward to. I want to hear about this because I've seen the character, I've seen the books, but I never got into them, and so I'm really looking forward.
Well, I've always had a thing about the Arthurian legends, even
Mhm.
since I was a little girl. Um, when I was told about, the Lady of the Lake, Lady Lane. Um, and then I read Zimmer Bradley's book, Marion Zimmer Bradley's Mist of Avalon, and I love her version
Mhm.
of that story. I really do like that version of the story. But I've always loved the Arthurian legend. Um, so yes, Excalibur is a movie Boorman just like bought my heart that day.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
And I've always had a thing, and if the more you're into the Arthurian legends, Mage is a lot easier to read the more you're into that,
Okay. I love the
because
Arthurian
of
legends.
the themes. And Edzo was always one of my favorite characters from that book. um she's the black chick, and she and the car she drives are both named Edsel. She's driving a 59 Edsel Corsair. You know? And she calls herself Edsel. It's like, okay. So if you turn around and go, Edsel, go get the Edsel. But I've always loved her because she's it's interesting because she's like this combination of Lance. She's like if Guinevere and Lancelot were one person. That's what when I look at Edsel, I kind of get that. She's like this combination of Guinevere and Lancelot.
It's cool.
You know, because Guinevere is never a warrior person, but Edsel is very much a let me pick up my, oh, is that a bad guy? Let me pick up my bat and see if I can make him go ouch. She's pretty fearless. And I loved it because here was this little black chick involved in this whole thing. And, she was like, okay, just point me at the bad guys. Just tell me where the bad guys are. I will bust them good. So I've always loved her for that. And, all of the characters had little special places in my heart. Like I said, I was very much, and an old booty call of mine introduced me to these books. We were both in the comics, and he actually worked for Gygax's group.
Oh, cool.
At one point, he moved to New York and was doing the storybooks that accompanied the D&D books. So you had the players' manuals, you had the DM's manuals, and then they had a series of like story books, and he was involved in the publishing of these books early on. So, because he was a good writer, I'll be nice about that. But he had, knowing my love of comics, which is how we connected originally. But yeah, like I said, I read them and I didn't get to finish them because we broke up. He moved to New York.
No.
And so when our lives were going different ways, and I went to LA and I had kids, and I never got a chance to get the books. And then when I was getting the books, I was getting them piecemeal. And when you've got little kids and you don't have a place to stash your books that little kids are getting into, I quit painting for a while because my oldest got into my calligraphy pens and my inks, and he stuck himself. Ooh. With one of the pens. Ouch. And yeah, he didn't do any permanent damage, but he did hurt himself. And it's like, okay. I just sort of gave away all my stuff because it's like, I can't have this around. I don't have a place I can put it that he can't get into. And so better to not have it and not do the work than to have it and then constantly worry about if he was going to get into it and hurt himself. Sure. So there was a long time that I didn't paint much because it just didn't work for me. That and when you've got to choose between diapers, formula, and
paint. Yeah.
You're choosing the diapers, especially if you're on a very limited income and budget, you're choosing the diapers and the formula.
So since you love the Arthurian legend, have you read Camelot 3000?
I'd seen some issues. I'd read a couple of issues of it, but I had other things going on, and it was just something I couldn't get into at the time because I couldn't find it consistently. And it was one of those things where I wanted to read more, and I'm now going, okay, I want to finish Parliament of Rooks, which is a series I found via Prime Reading. So they're letting me read it for free, but I have to get rid of so many books to be able to get so many books. And so to get this last copy, it's like I have to either get rid of one of those or I have to get rid of an Octavia Butler book. and I don't want to let go of my Octavia Butler book. But a Parliament of Rooks, anybody ever hear it's an interesting, I've found it and I fell in love with it. And now it's like, okay, it's on my list of books I gotta bug James about. And I gotta tell James, for the moment, until I find out how things turn out, I'm not getting any more Sandman books. I have 4, I think it's 1 through 4 that I still need. But anybody who's following the news knows that couple of weeks ago, some very unfortunate news came out about Mr. Gaiman.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Did I miss it? Did I miss something?
He's been accused of sexual assault by several women.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that definitely did not hit my radar as of yet.
Well, it hit my radar after somebody on Facebook had something that he had signed and said, geez, if I'd have sold this, 10 years ago, I could have got money for it. And now it's not worth anything. And some guys were kind of making comments, but they weren't being clear. They're being very vague. And so I went and Googled, to see what the deal was. And when this started coming up, it's like, oh man, really? You were the one guy I wouldn't have expected this from. And now it's like, oh, I don't know what to think. And I mean, I love the character of Death. She's one of my favorite characters. And it's like, okay, for the moment, I'm not throwing out the books. I want to see how this plays out. But then it's like, well, I don't know what to do because these books aren't cheap. I've invested over $100 because they're $20 an issue. So it's kind of like, oh, let me see how it turns out, and if it's bad and he did it, then I will, my entire gaming library, both Kindle, Audible, and physical, I will just have to deal with getting rid of. Because as a woman, as a survivor, that just doesn't fly with me. But it's like, well, I want to see if this is, because with Al Franken, women came forth and accused him, but the minute he got up and left the Senate, all of his accusers just kind of poof. Mm-hmm. None of them, they were all so mad and going and everything. But then and he said, hey, let the ethics committee investigate. But then you have this balance of female senators and congresswomen who are like, no, we can't stand for this. And he was like, okay, for the good of the party, so that things go back to normal, I'll leave. And then when he left, it's like, okay, so are these women, are they going to follow him? It's like all the cases went away. And I think at one point,
that's the power play. But it makes me also think about the other thing that always comes to mind, and I think it really depends on how each individual feels about the subject matter at hand. Can you separate the artist from the person who creates the work from the person whom they are? Because if he actually did those things, it's like, should his work be deemed lesser than?
It, as a woman, as a survivor of that sort of thing, it's harder for me. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I'm trying to say, let these women come forth, let him be charged, let him go to trial, let's see what the evidence is that's brought against him. And if the evidence says he did this, and it's like, yeah, I'll give it to you. You can have my collection.
Because I look at it this way, because there's going to be, if I was put in that same situation, it would be awfully hard for me to be like, okay, I can't read these books anymore because reading these books is like supporting him. It's like, no, the money has already exchanged. I won't buy anything new from him. But am I really truly supporting him by reading something that I already purchased? No. But I could get the emotion behind it. It's like why you wouldn't read it again, because that is a
Well,
reminder.
because also, if you think about the female characters that he did just in the Sandman series, there are some great female characters
Mm-hmm.
within all his work. And I took that because, like I said, death especially. Um, it's like, okay, this is somebody who gets and appreciates women. And so many of his female characters do some really intense, heavy lifting in those books. And it's like, okay, this is someone who appreciates and respects women. And then for something like this to come out, it's like,
It deepens the sense of betrayal.
yes,
Yeah, and I get that. I can
it's like
understand.
somebody suddenly walking up and hitting you smacking you across the head with a bag of bricks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, I don't know what to think. And I have, I have looked at the J.K. Rowling stuff, and the more she opens her mouth, the more I kind of like, sweetie, just put something in your hot chocolate and take a nice long nap, or go get laid, because you need one or both of those things. And as a woman, I do understand kind of her frustration in the way certain things have changed. And I've met some people who've transitioned, and my heart has gone out to them.
Mm-hmm.
But I've met some people who were in transition, who I've wanted to push in front of an oncoming Blue Line train, or Evanston Express. Because their attitude,
Something that won't stop.
yeah, it's like while you were sleeping, dude, that's an Evanston Express. Yeah. But so I've seen those who are transitioning, whose attitude towards women have been it's like, why, if you hate us this much, why are you bothering with this? Because the attitude you have towards us who were born this gender is very disrespectful. It's very as if you wish we hadn't been born. And it's like, why are you going through this trouble? If you hate women, why do you want to become one? So I've seen both, I've met some people. I've seen Soldier's Girl. My heart goes out for Calpurnia Adams, who I think is an amazing individual. If you haven't, it's a hard to find movie. The actor Lee Pace, who portrayed Thranduil, as well as Ronan the Accuser, plays her. And you have never seen a more beautiful looking man. I have known men, I have shown pictures of him fully made out for that movie, and they would go, "Oh, I'd smack that in a minute." And it's like, it's 6'3" and probably has something that will make you go, "Oh," at least salute him. And they're going, it's like, yes, baby, that is a dude. But and so it's kind of a hard thing. And when she first came out, I had a conversation. I said, well, part of it is the struggle is a little different, because as women, there are certain things we go through that they won't. There are things, our existence as women is is very different, such as Roe versus Wade. For those of us born female who have children or have to make that decision of whether or not to have children, that's something that someone transitioning, at least until technology makes that different, is not going to have to deal with. there are certain aspects of femininity, from getting your first period to getting your last one, that someone transitioning doesn't have to deal with, and all the baggage that brings with it. And so there is a sameness, but there's also a difference. And when she was first talking, it's like, well, I kind of understand that frustration of feeling like we're being replaced. You know, men are saying they can be better women than we are. So on the one hand, I kind of understood her fear and frustration, but it's like, okay, it's also just fear and frustration, you know, because it's not like hundreds of millions of men are now working to transition. The amount of people who transition one way or the other, a few are very famously doing so, but it's very small, even within the LBGQ plus community. It's a very small number. So, you know, it's like it's not like they're gonna come in and suddenly we're gonna become obsolete. But you know, but like I said, I've met some people I've looked at and said, you know, bless you on your journey. I hope it turns out fine. And then there are those that's like, oh, I just want to drag you in front of the nearest express train and throw you in front of it. You know, but you meet people like that no matter what they're going through in life. You meet some really great, amazing people. And then you meet some people, it's like, it's a good thing I don't carry big ass stabby knives with me.
Anymore. Yeah, I don't put it past you. You're a former Marine. You don't carry big stabby knives anymore.
I also no longer own brass knuckles, and I wish I still did. But you know, you meet those people, you know, they're the people that you meet as you're walking down the street. They're the people that you meet each day.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. Once again, I brought it back to Sesame Street. Y'all got to kick me off this show because I bring Sesame Street to everything.
See,
you say that like it's a bad thing.
You went for that to one of these things is doing its own thing. Come on, can you tell which
one? You know, but it's I look at her and it's like, first of all, considering your age, because she and I aren't that, our age difference isn't that intense. It's like, you ain't having no more babies anyway. So, you know, chill it out. You know, take a chill pill, go sit down, write a book, relax. You know, it's like I don't know if somebody said something to her and just really hurt her feelings. You know, but something in the world has set her off. And I think that
no, I got an eyelash got loose and it was bugging me, and so
now I know why Chicago is the windy city, because of wind back. Okay, great. Right. I was gonna make some special artwork for the girls. Well, we'll see if I do that now.
Wow, it's that.
It is getting late though. I gotta get going.
Yeah, I'm about to say we can't afford another 3-hour show. We're already 2 hours and a half. And I was like, we was doing good. We hit our 2-hour mark, and then we got to. I still trying to figure out. I still trying to figure out the transition from Neil Gaiman to what we just talked about.
I know. I was trying to explain. You know, I was willing to make allowances for Jill Rowling, in the point of I can love the material.
Mm-hmm.
And while looking at her going, you need to take a chill pill and get a lobotomy. You know, but because I guess it is because this is so personal for me.
Yeah.
That it's a lot harder to back away from.
Gaiman's a much deeper cut for me too, just because
wow.
Same thing you're talking about. But no, I found the story, and Joe, don't feel bad about missing it, because I saw it, but it was I didn't see it much. I saw just a little bit about it, and it was not very specific. I dug the same thing you did, Elaine. I dug to look it up a little bit, but I didn't hear a whole lot after that. You know, like a lot of things just kind of this balloon I did not hear a lot. So I don't know if that means that maybe the case is not as open and shut, or maybe I don't know, but or maybe everybody's kind of taking that wait and see attitude, like you're talking about, just to see what actual charges, what things are brought out. And maybe he's just that well liked that everybody's in the same boat you are, going, I don't want this to be true. We're going to wait, giving a little
I
more
want to
leeway
see
to
what
it.
happens. I don't want to call them liars.
Right. No,
because
absolutely not.
if I were to talk about things I went through, I wouldn't want somebody to call me a liar and
Sure.
smack all over,
Right.
me, my truth. But it's hard when a beloved author gets up and are like, oh my goodness, what do I, and it's like, what do I do? And so it's like, okay, you know what? I'll just kind of back up, wait, see what happens. And if it turns out it's what they're saying it is, I'll have some interesting words to say up on Amazon.
Yeah.
Well, I still feel this way. If it was really that true, considering the fact of how much stuff that he's still writing now, you would have heard a major outcry amongst those publishers. All of a sudden, he's losing
Yeah.
all of these projects. I haven't heard of anything. That's why I'm up here kind of like scratching my head. It's like, I have not read anything really that deep saying, this is actually happening one way or the other. And like I said, the only closest thing that I could think of that I was ever close to where with that would be like the older Molston stuff for Wonder Woman, because when you really delve into his history, it's like, okay, I could separate the person from what he created, because it's like, yeah, some of the stuff that he went through, bizarro. Do I stand for it? No, but I like the what he brought out, the project that he brought out, the lot of the quirkiness, because again, it took my grandmother to get me into that quirkiness, because I would have slept on Wonder Woman. It's like, this is not a title for me, and this, that, and the other. And it's like, she slowly tried to get my sister into it. My sister really wasn't taking to her all that much. It's like she was okay in her eyes. But the more I read about the stuff that she used to have to read back in like the 30s, and not 30s, the 40s and such, I was like, they was doing that back then. That's interesting. And it was kids reading. And nobody made a big thing about the whole thing about her being bound and all this other stuff, and put the sexualization on it until the 1970s. That was the whole, back then was just regular damsel in distress type deal.
I think part of the anger of the 70s was because she was, at that point, she was our Superman for women. She was our Superman. And to sort of have your Superman kind of, it was like, this is this character that's supposed to stand for female power. And you think about the National Organization of Women, they went after Playboy bunnies. These women went after, they went after the Playboy organization and Playboy bunnies, and the bunnies would just turn around and shake their tails and move on forward, because it's like, we got bills to pay. You find us another job, we can make this money or better, come talk to us. But if you're not gonna give us a job, I gotta go up in this building and make a living. So
I
yeah,
still love the stories about Gloria Steinem and the editors at DC.
I guess because I grew up through all of that. And you hear Shirley Chisholm and them talking about how when they had marches, and they would ask that the Black women stayed at the back, so that the photo op was all these white women united. It just kind of like, yeah, the women's movement did a lot, but it also, it just like back in the days of women's suffrage, it wasn't for us. They didn't do that.
I
with
wouldn't
us.
say that. I wouldn't say that, but it was built off of. It was built off of other minorities' backs. Put it that way.
You know, that's always crack up when people talk about, immigrants. It's like, who do you think who do you think feeds and cleans up and wipes the snotty noses of these rich women's babies?
Mhm.
For next to nothing.
Mm-hmm.
On call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Who do you think it's like? No. y'all have no idea. Somebody on Facebook just posted a thing a few days ago, talking about, we need people to go pick sweet potatoes.
Oh wow!
You gotta be up before sun up. You can't go to bed till long after sundown, and you make like 47 cents an hour for every bushel of potatoes that you pick. Because that's what a lot of migrant farmers. That's why you see whole families out there working, and they had to change the laws in the 2000s, where it was like the kids have to be able to go to school. They have to be able to go to school. It's not good for the kids that they're not getting it. This is they should have a shot if they're going to be here. Because at the time, when they were trying to do immigration laws, farmers got up and said, "Hey, who's gonna get up and harvest all this food for us?"
Yeah.
And these are the only people that will do this consistently. And they said, fine, but the kids have to be able to go to school because they should have an opportunity to grow up and have something better. And that's all Obama was trying to do. And I won't get any more political than that, than say, okay, you have these kids, they've been here, they've gone to school, they've got educations, they've gone in the military. Kicking them out when they've contributed is not fair. And that's my rant.
Yeah, we're past the 2 hour 30-minute mark.
Yes.
You gotta shut it down. You gotta shut it down. I was like, we hit 2 hours. It was like we were just about done. I should have just gone ahead and say, hey, we're 2 hours, let's end it. But no.
Nope.
You waited too long, Joe.
Yeah, that's my fault.
But there was
again,
some
now you're going to say it's like now, Joe, you're going to create a brand new video to say wrap it up, like the wrap it up box.
But the gaming discussion was good because I had thought about that too. But after we got into the show, I didn't think about it anymore. But I was going to ask you guys if you had heard that. So I'm glad that you brought it up because it was a point that I had in mind to talk about too. So
I was going to look up this weekend to see if there were any updates.
Okay.
If I find any updates, I will shoot it to you.
Okay. All right. You know the drill. We're going to do it in order. So we got Elaine first, then Clyde, then we'll be done.
Hey guys, love that you stayed with us despite all of my insanity. You can find me on Facebook, Elaine Haygood, Twitter, LynnScapper1, here on YouTube, I'm Elaine Haygood, and of course my website, LynnScapOnline.com, and every Thursday night, I will terrorize these men.
And here's Clyde.
Hi, I'm Clyde Hall, an elder statesman of terrorism. Of geekery. You can follow me on Facebook at Clyde Hall or Radiating Positive Vibes with author Clyde Hall, where we make at least one daily posting to try and improve your day. Today was National Tooth Fairy Day. So you will find a gallery of all sorts of movie and TV versions of Tooth Fairies, along with some vintage toys and dolls and things like that. That's just one of the things that we do. We have a mirthful midweek where we do jokes. Check that out. I'm also on Twitter at CJ Hall 1984, or you can check out my Amazon authors page right down here. I'm currently part of the online comic book review crew at comicsbeat.com, aka The Beat. You can find them at www.comicsbeat.com. In my spare time, I'm an independent award-winning author and a contributing writer at Stormgate Press. You can find me in their anthologies like Spurs and Six Shooters, Tales of the Old West. It's right here. Or Tim Bruckner's Major Marjorie is right here. I'm in Pulp Reality, their volumes, the new Pulp Adventures, volumes 1 through 4, and the Lost Adventures of Captain Hawkland, volumes both 1 and 2. So go to www.stormgatepress.com to see the best in new pulp entertainment. Comic Book Spectrum is brought to you by one of the bullpen members of Stormgate Press, artist extraordinaire Jeffrey Hayes of Plasmafire Graphics. He is a Pulp Factory award-winning artist for several years running, and his covers illustrate why. For example, here is one, The Terrors, Brian K. Morris, won a Pulp Factory award for this cover, Jeffrey did, and it is the kind of cover that he also did this Major Marjorie cover. He also did the Spurs and Six Shooters cover. He's done a lot of work for Stormgate Press. And when I've set up my books for sale, I have seen people drawn to the table and drawn to those books that he has illustrated the covers for. There's a reason for that. He's good. And Jeffrey Hayes is the somebody that can bring people to your table. So he is both easy to work with and he is affordable. Those are just bonuses because his talent speaks for itself. Joe is now going to tell you how to get Plasmafire Graphics and Jeffrey Hayes working for you.
That is correct. And last week I missed that because I was kind of at a loss here because I didn't have any of the product to actually show in hand. But nevertheless, if you like what Clyde said, and this is coming from a person who actually used the services, then you might want to give this video a quick little gander.
You've worked hard and written a great book. Now, it's time to give it a great cover. If you're an indie author or small press publisher, Plasmafire Graphics is your source for affordable cover illustration and graphic design. Plasmafire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you.
You've seen the pictures, you've seen the books. Now go ahead and give Jeffrey Hayes a quick little jingle or message over there at plasmafiregraphics.com or his Facebook group, Plasmafire Graphics. As far as myself, I will be back here Saturday, not just once, but twice on Saturday. Why? Because this upcoming Saturday, we have another Whatnot show starting at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, and then it's followed up by From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher at 9 p.m. both Central Standard Time here. So until next Thursday, or for those who do watch From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher, I will see you next week or possibly this upcoming Saturday, depending on your schedule, right here on Comic Book Spectrum, or later on Saturday on From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher. And if you happen to be in the neighborhood, drop by the Whatnot show, take a gander at the books here. We do sell our own creative-owned comic books here, which is mentioned in the outro here. So, as I always say, live life, grow, and be well. And unlike Brian K. Morris, I don't care about if you wash your hands one way or the other, but never, and I do mean never, apologize for being awesome. Until next time, adios.